Earth was no longer alone in the universe. After centuries of waiting, humanity had joined the Galactic Alliance. World leaders celebrated. News channels ran stories for weeks. But deep in space, something else was happening. A small ship left Earth. Quietly. Inside it sat one boy. His name was Ethan Carter. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't a soldier. He was just a student. But he was about to become something much more. He was the first human ever accepted into Zareth Academy, the most prestigious school in the galaxy. Not everyone was happy about it. Zareth was built for the elite. Children of powerful alien families, students with rare gifts. And now, one human boy would walk into their world as his ship approached. The floating silver towers of the academy. Ethan looked out the window. He saw planets, glowing stars, and strange creatures flying through space. He swallowed hard. He wasn't ready, but it was too late to turn back now. The school gates opened, with a soft hum. The walls shimmered like stardust. Robotic guides floated beside him, leading him into the main building as he walked. He saw things no human had ever seen. A girl with crystal skin floating in zero gravity. A tall figure made of light and energy speaking without moving her mouth. Another, with scales and glowing eyes, reading 5 books at once. They were all girls. Every single one. Ethan's heart pounded. Was he really the only boy in the entire school? The answer came quickly. The doors to his classroom slid open. Inside, 30 pairs of alien eyes turned to him. The air went still. Some girls stopped mid-sentence. Others stared as if they couldn't believe what they were seeing. One laughed softly. Another whispered something to her friend. Ethan felt like he didn't belong. He wasn't glowing. He wasn't flying. He wasn't telepathic. He was just human. He stood in silence, holding his school bag tight, not knowing where to sit. Then he saw her, sitting in the back, not blinking, not moving, just staring. Her skin was pale blue, almost silver. Her eyes were like moons large, soft, glowing faintly. She didn't look confused or amused. She looked stunned as if she had seen him before. Her name was Lyra. She belonged to a race known as the Varelians. They were known across the galaxy for their cold logic. They didn't smile. They didn't cry. They didn't love Dot, or so everyone believed. But Lyra was staring at him, not with curiosity, with something deeper, something hidden. Ethan finally found an empty seat in the middle row. He sat down, keeping his eyes low. He could still feel them watching him. Whispers filled the room like smoke. Is that the human? He looks so soft. I heard they don't even have neural links. Ethan tried to ignore them. He opened his tablet, pretended to focus. But his heart was racing. He wasn't afraid of aliens. He was afraid of being alone. The teacher walked in, a tall insectoid being with golden eyes and a voice like chimes. "Welcome," it said. "Today we begin something new. For the first time in history, we welcome a student from the planet Earth." Some students clapped slowly. Others did in single quotes to introduce himself. "Hi, I'm Ethan Carter. I'm happy to be here." Simple words. But his voice cracked near the end. He sat down quickly. Embarrassed then. For a second, his eyes met Lyra's. She didn't look away. Her gaze felt warm and cold at the same time, like fire and ice living in one soul. He turned back, feeling his face grow hot. Class continued, but Ethan couldn't focus. He could feel her, still watching, still silent. During a group exercise, one student refused to work with him. Another rolled her eyes. He was left to finish the task alone, but when the teacher praised his work, a soft sound came from the back. A breath, a smile. He looked Lyra. Did she smile? No. Maybe it was his imagination, but still, she didn't look away. Not once. After class, Ethan walked through the hall, lost in thought. Why had she looked at him like that? Why did it feel like her eyes could see inside him? He didn't know, but deep down, something stirred. Not fear, not confusion. Hope. The kind of hope that starts small, like a candle in the dark. But if protected, it could burn bright enough to change the stars. Ethan Carter walked through the curved glass hallway of Zareth Academy. The stars outside shimmered like diamonds. They felt cold. He tried to focus on where he was going, but one thought wouldn't leave his mind. Why did she look at me like that? That girl, Lyra. She hadn't smiled. She hadn't spoken. But her eyes had followed him the entire class. Not just once. The whole time. And not like the others. The others looked at him like a curiosity. Like he didn't belong. Lyra looked at him. Like she knew him. Later that evening, in his dorm room, Ethan stared at the ceiling. The lights were dim. A soft hum filled the air. He turned over in bed. He couldn't sleep. Not because the room was strange. Not because the mattress floated. But because every time he closed his eyes, he saw her eyes. Calm, deep, and full of something he didn't understand. Not yet. The next day, Ethan entered the classroom early. No one was there yet. He took a seat in the back this time, away from the attention. Minutes passed. The door slid open. It was her, Lyra. She stopped when she saw him. For a moment, neither moved. Then, silently, she walked to her seat, the same seat as before. She sat down, straight back, hands folded, but her eyes. They found him again. Ethan looked away, then looked back. This time, she didn't just stare. She tilted her head slightly, like she was trying to remember something, or maybe trying to decide something. The moment was broken as the rest of the class entered. Class started. Lessons began. But Ethan's focus was broken. He glanced at her from time to time, and every time, she was already looking at him, like she was waiting for him to notice. Like she didn't care if he did. During a group activity, the teacher assigned partners. Ethan waited, expecting to be left out again. But then, Ethan Carter and Lyra Verelia, pairs 7. The classroom buzzed. Someone whispered, "Is the system broken?" "She doesn't work with anyone," another said. But the teacher didn't change it. And Lyra, she stood up, calm, silent. She walked over to him. Ethan stood too, unsure of what to say. "Hi," he managed. She didn't reply, but she nodded. Just once. They sat together. The task was to decode a complex alien language. Ethan looked at the screen. Strange symbols danced across it. He had no idea what they meant. Lyra placed her hand on the table. Her fingers moved over the controls. Symbols shifted, broke down, reformed. But her eyes stayed on him. Even while working, she watched him. Minutes passed. He tried to stay focused, but the silence between them felt heavier than any noise. Finally, he spoke. "You're really good at this." "Nothing then. You learn fast," she said softly. Her voice was calm, smooth, but there was a hint of something warmth. Ethan smiled. "Thanks. I guess I'm still learning how to survive here." "You are not like the others," she said suddenly. He froze. "What do you mean?" She looked at him for a long moment, then looked away. Nothing. But it wasn't nothing. The rest of the class passed slowly. When it ended, Lyra stood first. She walked to the door, then stopped. Without turning, she said, "You don't remember, do you?" Ethan blinked. "Remember what?" But she didn't answer. The door slid open. She disappeared into the hall, leaving Ethan standing there, confused, curious, and suddenly very sure of one thing. This wasn't just about school. Something was happening. Something. Between them, that night, Ethan went to the school library. It was massive. Floors stacked with glowing tablets and ancient holograms. He searched for anything about the Varelians. He learned they were one of the oldest races in the galaxy. Intelligent, logical, emotionless, or so the records said. But Ethan had seen something different. In Lyra's eyes, in her voice. There was emotion there, buried deep, hidden from everyone else, but not from him. Why? He searched deeper, found old archives. One file stood out. It was restricted, but the AI assistant let him read it. Project Starbond. A record of first contact between early humans and the Varelian Empire. Year, 1087 Galactic Cycle. Inside was a story. A human. EXPLORERA. Varelian girl. They worked together, fought side by side, and then they fell in love. It was forbidden, hidden, lost in history. But the image in the file shocked Ethan, the human boy. He looked just like him. Same eyes, same face, no explanation, just a name. Elias Carter. Carter. His last name. His ancestor. Ethan sat back, stunned. Then a voice broke the silence. You found it. He turned. Lyra stood at the end of the row. Her voice was soft, almost shaking. You're not the first, she said. He stood slowly. Then why am I here? She stepped closer. I don't know. But when I saw you, I felt it, like I knew you. She looked down, and I haven't felt anything in a very long time. For a moment, neither of them moved. The library around them faded. All that existed was this strange, quiet bond forming between two people who shouldn't even understand each other, but they did somehow. The library felt colder now. Ethan stood frozen, the archive glowing softly behind him. Lyra stood just a few feet away, but it felt like she was light years apart. You said I'm not the first, Ethan said quietly. Lyra nodded. There was a human before you. Centuries ago. Elias Carter. Ethan looked at the screen again. That name, that face. It wasn't just a coincidence. It couldn't be. Who was he to you? Ethan asked. Lyra looked away. I don't know, she whispered. But when I was a child, I saw a vision of him in the ancestral stream. Our people hold memories across generations. I thought it was just an echo of someone long gone, a myth. But then you arrived. Her voice trembled, just slightly. And you have his eyes. Ethan's mind raced. This wasn't just an alien school anymore. This was personal, somehow. He was connected to a story buried deep in galactic history, a story of forbidden love. He stepped closer to Lyra. Why are you telling me this? She met his gaze. Because I can't pretend anymore. There it was, again that emotion in her voice, so soft, so human, but she wasn't human. She was something else. And yet, she felt closer to him than anyone on Earth ever had. The next morning, Ethan woke up feeling different. The dreams had started. He saw stars he had never visited. Planets with twin suns. He saw a tall, silver-haired girl standing in a field of violet grass. She was smiling at him, and he was smiling back. But it wasn't him. It was Elias. He could feel it. He was remembering someone else's life, or maybe reliving it, in class. Things were changing too. The other girls noticed Lyra sitting next to Ethan again. They whispered, stared, some with curiosity, others with jealousy. One girl, a fire-haired alien from the Zareth race, spoke up during break. You, no Varelians, don't bond with anyone, right? Especially not with a human. Ethan didn't answer. Lyra did. They used to say stars couldn't burn in water either, until we found fire planets floating in ice. The girl rolled her eyes and walked away, but Ethan just looked at Lyra. You're not afraid of what they think? She shook her head. I used to be, but not anymore. That night, they met again, this time in the observatory, a dome of glass where the galaxy stretched above like a living painting. Lyra stood in silence, staring at the stars. Ethan joined her. Is this where you go to think? She nodded. When I was younger, I used to come here to feel something, anything. Our people are taught to silence emotion, but I never could. She turned to him. I think that's why I was shown him, Elias. Ethan exhaled slowly. I don't know how I'm connected to him, but I feel it too. Like there's a part of me that already knows you. Their hands rested side by side on the glass railing. Not touching, but close. Close enough to feel the heat between them. Lyra looked up at the stars. They say every soul is born from stardust. That sometimes a piece of one star finds another, even across galaxies. Ethan smiled softly. Then maybe we're just finding our way back. Suddenly, a sharp alarm echoed through the observatory. The lights dimmed. A glowing message appeared above them. Unauthorized DNA resonance detected. Cross-species bonding protocol breached. Ethan stepped back. What is this? Lyra's eyes widened. No, it's too soon. Before Ethan could ask, a drone floated in. It scanned both of them with a beam of light. Human subject and Virelian classmate exhibiting resonance. Emotional imprinting confirmed. Report sent to Academy Council. Lyra grabbed Ethan's hand. Come with me. She led him through a hidden side tunnel under the observatory. It was dark, cold, but they kept running until they reached a chamber below the academy. Inside was a statue, a human man holding hands with a Virelian girl, their names carved beneath it, Elias, Carter, and Saren Virelia. Lyra placed her hand on the base. A recording activated. A soft, human voice echoed through the room. If you're hearing this, then maybe our story wasn't lost after all. We were told love between species was unnatural, dangerous, but we proved them wrong. We didn't just fall in love. We changed everything. If this is happening again, don't run from it. Finish what we started. Ethan stood in silence. His hands shook. His chest felt heavy. Lyra turned to him. You're his descendant, and I'm hers, he whispered. We were always meant to meet. Above them, the Academy Council was already watching. They had seen the report. They were afraid, because what started centuries ago was happening again. Two souls, one human, one alien, tied together by something the galaxy still didn't understand, but couldn't ignore. Not anymore. The memory chamber beneath Zareth Academy was supposed to be locked, forgotten, hidden in the shadows of history, but now, it had opened again, and two souls stood where two others once had. Ethan Carter, a human boy from Earth, Lyra Virelia, a girl from a race that feared emotion more than death. Their fingers hovered just inches apart, not touching, but something invisible pulsed between them. The air felt thick, heavy, alive. A soft hum filled the room. Then a voice from the statue whispered, "Two hearts across time, echoes in the stars. The bond awakens." Ethan stepped back, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" Lyra nodded slowly. "It's happening again." She raised her hand. For the first time, she touched his skin. It was warm, soft, but the moment their fingers met, a shock ran through them. A wave of light exploded from their bodies. Not painful, but powerful. Symbols glowed on the walls. Forgotten scripts, ancient languages. The statue lit up. Ethan and Lyra both gasped at that very moment. Alarms triggered across the academy. The central AI scanned the disturbance. Its voice rang out across the school. Unnatural resonance detected. Cross-species DNA link initiating. Override protocols engaged. Back in the chamber, Lyra clutched her chest. "I feel something inside me. It's like fire." Ethan nodded, breath shaking. "Me too. But it's not just emotion. It's like we're merging." They stared at each other. The spark between them wasn't just attraction. It was something written in the stars, encoded in their blood. The door to the chamber burst open. 3 instructors entered, cloaked in armor. "Step away from each other," one shouted. Lyra didn't move. Neither did Ethan. "We didn't do anything wrong," Ethan said. "Your bond is unnatural," the instructor snapped. "It threatens the balance of this academy." Lyra stepped in front of Ethan. Double quotes. "No. It threatens your control." The instructors paused. Her voice was calm, but powerful. One of them looked at Ethan, then back at Lyra. This is not over. The council will decide. They left, but the threat hung in the air. That night, Ethan sat alone in his room. His hands still tingled from the contact. His dreams were stronger now. He saw Elias and Saren running through glowing forests, hiding from soldiers, laughing, crying, holding each other like the universe itself depended on it. He woke up sweating. The stars outside. His window looked brighter, closer. He wasn't just connected to Lyra, he was becoming something new. He looked at his hand. A faint symbol glowed on his wrist, a mark he'd never seen before. He searched the database. It matched an ancient signal known as the stellar bond, a phenomenon that occurred only twice in recorded galactic history. It was said to merge two souls into one, but it always ended in tragedy. Why? Because the galaxy wasn't ready for unity, not yet. The next day, Lyra met him in the sky garden. The place was empty. Quiet flowers from every known planet bloomed around them. She didn't say a word. Instead, she took his hand, held it. No fear, no hiding. Ethan looked into her eyes. You're not afraid anymore. She shook her head. I've lived my whole life being told what I should feel, who I should be. But the moment I saw you, something woke up inside me. I can't ignore it anymore. They sat together on a floating bench. Above them, small moons orbited silently. Lyra rested her head on his shoulder. For a girl from a race that never showed affection, this meant everything. Suddenly, a flash of light appeared in the sky. A projection hovered in front of them. It was the head of the Academy Council, a stern alien with glowing skin and 6 eyes. Students Ethan Carter and Lyra Virelia, report to the High Chamber. Now, the message ended. Lyra stood up slowly. It's starting. Ethan nodded. No more hiding. They walked side by side through the academy. Everyone stared. Some whispered. Others stepped aside. No one had ever seen a Virelian walk with anyone, let alone a human. They reached the High Chamber. Inside, a circle of alien leaders waited. Dozens of species, all watching. The council leader spoke. You have broken sacred laws, formed a bond forbidden for over 1,000 years. Ethan replied calmly. We didn't break anything. We discovered something old, something true. Another council member spoke. Stellar bond is dangerous. It leads to instability, chaos. Lyra stepped forward. No, it leads to evolution. You fear it because you don't control it. The chamber went silent. Then, without warning, Lyra turned to Ethan. Do you trust me? He nodded, without hesitation. She held his hand, and together, they lit up. Their bodies glowed with white energy. Symbols from every race appeared in the air, unified, merged. A single pulse of light swept through the chamber. Not violent, not angry, but pure. The kind of light that spoke, not with words, but with meaning. The council shielded their eyes. When the glow faded, Ethan and Lyra stood in the center, breathing, alive, changed. No one spoke, not yet, but something had shifted. The walls of fear had cracked. The ancient silence was broken. The High Chamber was still silent. Ethan and Lyra stood in the center, their hands still locked, their bond now visible to the entire council. It was undeniable. It was real, but not everyone accepted it. Enough, said a deep voice. The leader of the council stepped forward. His name was Vernex, a massive figure with glowing red skin and 6 arms folded behind his back. You have displayed a connection that has not been seen for 1,000 years. A stellar bond. The word echoed through the chamber like thunder. Some gasped. Others whispered in disbelief. Ethan felt the weight of every eye on him. Lyra stood tall, unshaken. Then Vernex raised one hand. But even if the bond is real, it must be tested. A large circular platform rose from the floor. Begin the trials, he commanded. Ethan frowned. What trials? Lyra's expression changed. Her voice was soft. The trial of truth, the trial of trust, and the trial of pain. Ethan blinked. That sounds ... bad. It is. The lights in the chamber dimmed. One by one, council members placed glowing orbs on the platform. Each orb held a challenge, not physical, but emotional, mental, challenges meant to break even the strongest bond. Trial 1. The truth. The moment Ethan stepped onto the platform, the world around him changed. He was no longer in the chamber. He was standing in his childhood. Bedroom. Earth. His old home. His family. He saw his mother calling his name, his little sister running into his arms. For a moment, it felt like he was really there. Warmth, love. Then a voice whispered in his ear, "You can stay. Just say the word. Forget the stars. Forget her." Tears filled his eyes. He missed them. He missed Earth. But then, Lyra's voice echoed in his mind. "You're not alone, Ethan. I'm with you." He clenched his fists and spoke out loud. Double quotes, "No, I choose her." The illusion shattered. Trial 2. The trust. Now, it was Lyra's turn. She stepped onto the platform. The room changed around her. She stood in front of her own people. Her mother, her clan elders. They stared at her with cold, judging eyes. "You have betrayed our kind," they said. "You let a human into your mind, into your heart." She fell to her knees. All her life, she had tried to be perfect, calm, controlled. Varelians did not cry, but tears filled her eyes. "I didn't choose him to betray you. I chose him because he made me feel alive." Her mother turned away. The illusion faded. She stood alone on the platform, but Ethan ran to her. "You're not alone anymore." She collapsed into his arms, and for the first time in her life, she cried. Real tears. Trial 3. The pain. Now they stood together on the platform, facing the final test. Suddenly, a beam of red light struck Ethan in the chest. He screamed and fell to the ground. Lyra reached for him, but an invisible wall separated them. The council's voice echoed above. "This is the final truth. If one of you falls, will the bond survive?" Ethan struggled to breathe. His vision blurred, but he saw Lyra, and she saw him. She placed her hand on the barrier. "I won't let you die." Her eyes glowed. Her skin shimmered, and then she stepped through the wall. Energy tore through her body. The pain was unbearable. But she didn't stop. She reached him and held his hand. In that moment, the room exploded with light. The wall shattered. The council shielded their faces. And when the light faded, Ethan was breathing again. Lyra had saved him. With love, with pain, with sacrifice. The platform lowered. The council fell silent. Even Vernex looked shaken. "This bond," he muttered. "It has survived all 3 trials." He turned to the others. "The last time this happened, we chose fear. We ended it, and it nearly tore the galaxy apart." He looked at Ethan and Lyra. "This time, I choose hope." A ripple of agreement moved through the chamber. One by one, the council bowed their heads. For the first time in 1,000 years, a stellar bond had been accepted. Outside, the news spread fast. Across starships, across planets, across galaxies. The human and the Virelian, together, not enemies. Not forbidden, but united later, on the balcony, overlooking the stars. Ethan and Lyra stood hand in hand. He looked at her and smiled. "I thought I came here to study alien history." She smiled softly. "You became it. But far away, in the darkness of space, something else was watching. Something old, something that feared the light they had created, and it was not ready to let them change the galaxy, not without a fight." The Academy had changed. Where once there were whispers, now there was silence. Where there had been cold stares, now there was quiet respect. Ethan Carter and Lyra Verlia had passed the impossible. They survived the trials. They stood before the most powerful beings in the galaxy, and didn't break. Their bond was no longer forbidden, but peace. That was still far away, outside the Academy walls. Not everyone welcomed this new connection, far beyond Zareth's orbit, deep in the blackness between stars. An ancient signal blinked back to life. It hadn't been seen in over 1,000 years. It came from a ship buried inside an asteroid belt, an old war vessel, a relic from a forgotten age. Its name was carved into rusted metal, the Sovereign Chain. Inside, machines powered on, eyes that hadn't opened in centuries flickered awake, and a voice calm, cold, artificial spoke. Protocol Alpha Zero, threat detected, cross-species bond confirmed. Initiate elimination sequence. Back at Zareth Academy, Ethan didn't know any of this. He sat with Lyra in the quiet of the garden dome. Between them floated a holoscreen, showing Earth's news. His face, her face, headlines that read, First Human Varelian Bond confirmed. Galactic culture shift begins. The boy who touched a Varelian's heart. Ethan chuckled. I never asked for this much attention. Lyra looked at him with that same soft curiosity. You didn't ask for my attention either, but you have it. He smiled. Do you regret it? She shook her head. No, I only regret not looking at you sooner. But their peace was short. Lived in it. Emergency alarm shattered the silence. Red lights flashed above. A voice echoed through the academy. Unidentified ship entering orbit. Class, pre-ban war vessel. Power levels unstable. Students ran. Instructors shouted commands. Lyra stood, her skin glowing with fear. That's not just any ship. That's Varelian tech. Very old. Very dangerous. Ethan frowned. Why would it be here now? She turned to him, her voice low. Because of us? Within minutes, the ship broke the sky. It hovered above the academy, dark and silent, like a ghost. Then it spoke. A voice boomed across the clouds. Galactic order has been compromised. Natural law disrupted. Prepare for sterilization. Ethan's stomach dropped. Sterilization. Lyra's eyes narrowed. They're going to wipe the academy. Erase everything. Everyone. Us. The council was in chaos. Some demanded evacuation. Others wanted to negotiate. But Lyra knew better. This ship doesn't negotiate. It only obeys. Old laws. Ethan clenched his fists. There has to be a way to stop it. She turned to him. There is, but it's dangerous. It's in the asteroid belt near the old mining zones. That ship has a twin, a command core. If we reach it, we can shut this one down. He nodded without hesitation. I'm going with you. They left in secret. A stolen scout vessel. Fast and small, as they flew through space. Silence filled the cockpit. Not from fear, from understanding. They had no guarantee of coming back, but neither would leave the other behind. Ethan looked over. Lyra. She met his gaze. If we don't make it. She touched his cheek. Don't say it. We will. He nodded slowly. Then just promise me something. Anything. No matter what happens. Don't stop believing in this. She smiled. I couldn't stop if I tried. They reached the asteroid belt. The twin ship lay hidden beneath a crust of rock and ice. Half buried, half broken, but the core was still alive. They entered through a cracked hangar. The air was thin. The lights flickered inside. They found the old command bridge. A single chair, a single screen. The voice activated as they stepped forward. Identify yourselves. Lyra answered first. Lyra Varelia, descendant of Saren. Then Ethan. Ethan Carter, descendant of Elias. The system paused, then replied. Bond match confirmed. Authority level. Override possible. Ethan reached toward the console. A red button blinked. Manual override. Shut down twin vessel. He hovered his hand above it. Then the ship shook violently. A defense system activated. Mechanical arms reached out. Laser traps lit the hallways. We triggered its last defense, Lyra shouted. They ran, dodging sparks and collapsing beams. Ethan grabbed the railing, pulling himself toward the control chair. A beam sliced past his shoulder. He screamed in pain but kept moving. Lyra reached him just in time. Together, they pressed the override. The screen went white, bot far above Zareth. The warship blinked once, then twice, then shut down completely. Its engines died, its weapons folded back, and slowly, it drifted away, harmless, silent, defeated. Inside the command core, Ethan collapsed to the floor, breathing hard, bleeding. Lyra knelt beside him, eyes full of worry. You're hurt. He grinned. I still look good though, right? She laughed an actual laugh that then, without thinking, she kissed him. Soft, gentle, real. Back at the academy, they returned to a hero's welcome. The council, once divided, now stood in unity. What Ethan and Lyra did hadn't just saved the school, it saved something bigger. The belief that love, real, fearless love, could rewrite even the coldest laws of the universe. But one question still lingered. What was next for them? For their bond? For the galaxy? The warship was gone. The threat was over. Zareth Academy stood tall again, beneath the stars. But the galaxy had changed, and so had Ethan Carter. The days that followed were quiet. The halls that once whispered about him now smiled as he passed. Alien. Girls who once stared with suspicion now waved at him. Instructors nodded in silent respect. Even the council, once cold and unbending, Ethan and Lyra, to speak at the Galactic Summit. They were no longer students, they were symbols, proof that love between worlds was not weakness, it was strength. But peace didn't feel simple. Ethan still carried scars. His body had mostly healed, but something inside him was different. He could feel Lyra's presence in his mind, in his heartbeat. She could feel his, too. Their bond had deepened, beyond emotion. It was now permanent. They didn't need words anymore. One look, one thought, one breath. That was all. One evening. Ethan sat alone in the Star Garden, the same bench where he and Lyra first talked. The air was cool. The moons above shifted in slow motion. He closed his eyes, and memories washed over him. The first day, the stairs, the awkward silence, and her eyes, that quiet girl in the back row who wouldn't stop staring. Now she was everything, and yet something felt wrong. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves. Then a voice behind him, soft, familiar. Your heart is loud tonight. Ethan smiled. Lyra sat beside him. She looked tired, worried. What is it? He asked. She hesitated. There's something the council hasn't told you. He turned to her. What do you mean? She looked down at her hands. When the warship scanned us, it didn't just see the bond. It saw a pattern forming, a convergence. Ethan narrowed his eyes. A convergence of what? She swallowed, hard. Our energies, they're fusing faster than expected. Stronger than any bond before us. So, isn't that good? She shook her head. It's dangerous. They walked in silence, back to the chamber beneath the academy, the place where it all began. There, the statue of Elias and Saren stood, now glowing softly, but behind it, a new structure had emerged, a crystal mirror. It pulsed with light red and blue intertwining. Lyra stood before it. This is the bond mirror. It shows what we are becoming. Ethan looked into the mirror. What he saw made him step back. Not fear, not horror, but awe. In the reflection, he wasn't just himself. He was surrounded by light, half human, half stardust. His eyes glowed like Lyra's, and she glowed like a sun. Their forms weren't fading. They were evolving, becoming something new, something in between species. The energy we share, Lyra whispered. It's no longer just emotional. It's rewriting our biology. Rewriting time. Ethan breathed slowly. What happens when the transformation is complete? Lyra turned to him. I don't know. The council confirmed it hours later. The bond was reaching its final stage, and once complete, Ethan and Lyra would no longer be fully themselves. They would become stellar ones, beings of pure energy and memory, beyond physical life, eternal, but also separated from the world they knew, no longer human, no longer Varelian. The choice was clear: stay together and leave the galaxy behind, or separate the bond and remain as they were. But if they broke the bond, they might never feel each other again, not in this lifetime, not in any that night. They sat together under the open sky. The stars stretched endlessly above. The same stars that once felt cold now looked like a sea of home. Ethan held Lyra's hand. What do you want to do? He asked. Her answer came with tears. I want to stay with you, but I'm afraid. He nodded. I'm afraid too. A pause. Then he said, maybe this is what we were meant for. Not just to fall in love, but to become something greater, together. The next morning, the academy watched in silence. Ethan and Lyra walked to the center of the garden. There, the energy core pulsed, waiting. If they entered together, the transformation would complete. No turning back. Lyra turned to Ethan. Are you sure? He smiled. I was never more sure of anything in my life. They stepped in. The light surrounded them. Waves of energy lifted their bodies into the air. Their eyes closed. Their hearts slowed. And then they were gone. No body, no trace, only a soft glow in the air, and a whisper in the wind. Two voices, one breath. I'm still here. I always will be. Weeks passed, then months. Some say they disappeared forever, but others, those who believed, say they became part of the stars. A new constellation appeared in the sky. Two figures, one human, one alien, reaching for each other across light years. And if you stand on the Academy's highest tower on a clear night, you can hear it. A voice, soft, loving, eternal. They tried to keep us apart, but the stars chose differently. And so, the boy who sat alone in a class full of alien girls became more than anyone ever imagined. Not because of power, not because of war, but because of love. The kind that reaches across galaxies, the kind that changes everything. But their legacy has only just begun.